Well, I'm delighted to say that we're joined by Simon Cox, the chief designer for Isuzu Motors in Europe, based in the West Midlands. Simon, very strange, Japanese company, design studio run by you, not too far from Birmingham. How does that all work?
Well, basically, they use us to get design influence from Europe and to add to what they're designing over there, but also to give a completely different perspective of design, really. And this was a result of one of our projects.
This is the VehiCROSS. It was one of the stars of the Tokyo Motor Show, but here we are in Britain. Yes, despite the backdrop, we are in good old Blighty. We've got the thing on the road. It's been built in Japan. What's the likelihood of it coming to Europe, or in particular to Britain, in showrooms?
Oh, there is a good chance now. It is being discussed. Originally, it was meant to be for Japan only, but there has been a very good response to it in both Europe and America. So that is now being discussed.
If I was a gambling man, I mean, is it 50-50 that will come here?
I would say 50-50, but hopefully a little bit more than that.
And what's underneath it? It's basically an Isuzu Trooper, isn't it, beneath the skin?
The basic chassis is a ladder frame, and it is from a Trooper, which means it is very, very strong and very capable off-road. There has been some modifications to the suspension, which makes it a lot more sporty in terms of its performance.
Feels much taller when you're at the wheel.
Yes, basically we've got the monotype shock absorbers, which are basically development from motorcycle, and that helps the basic on-road performance. It's a much more sort of sportier ride, a much tougher sort of a ride, but it doesn't compromise the off-road. The original concept was to produce an off-roader, a modern-looking off-roader. So, yeah, the intention at the outset was to get a very radical-looking vehicle. But what we needed to do is make sure that it was a real off-road capability, very strong performance, and it is not just an image vehicle.
Is the ground clearance as good as on the traditional Trooper, for example? I mean,
yes, the ground clearance is exactly the same, and as you say, it may look very stylish, but performance-wise, it is very capable.
And in fact, in some ways, more durable than most tougher-looking, if I can use that word, 4x4s. I mean, those plastic pieces of cladding. I sound like somebody's just been down to B&Q. You know what I mean? They're bolted on with Allen heads, which means you need the good old-fashioned Allen key to take the things off. But they're more than just cosmetic. They're actually offering protection. We can see some of it here at the front.
Yeah, well, that's right. You look at a lot of off-roaders, then basically they have a two-tone graphic. What we wanted to do with this vehicle was produce a very tough, as I say, capable off-road lower, which it could stand the test of scrapes. But it was a contrast between a very car-like or stylish upper body. So there is this contrast of both materials and function.
And as you say, on a typical off-roader, you might have two-tone paint.
Well, that's it. It usually it's a use of paint or graphic to achieve this sort of tough image, where we didn't want to do that. We wanted the function to actually come out in the materials.
Well, radical on the outside, radical to say the very least, but on the inside, nothing terribly different about the VehiCROSS compared with the Trooper. I say that, I mean, there's nothing mechanically different from a driving point of view. It feels very similar. Nice solid ride, actually. I kind of like the feel on the road. Some nice kind of Recaro style seats here. In fact, they are genuine Recaro seats. That give that body hugging feeling. I'm not sure if they're ideal for off-roading, but who cares? This is a vehicle, you've got to remember, that's going to spend probably 95% of its life, if not more, on the road. And it's got lots of gadgets and gizmos that would impress any gadget freak, really. We've got a little device here, which is a television set come TV monitor. What it means is when you whack the automatic gearbox into reverse, you don't have to use the mirrors. There's a camera that points out of the back of the car, and you get the image of the track or the road or whatever behind you as you're reversing. Very clever stuff and all the rest of it, but I find that mirrors work quite well actually. The dashboard is pretty much, apart from the TV monitor and the fancy stereo, pretty much standard. Nice steering wheel, very nice feel, very sporty feel to it. Managed to combine a kind of off-road feel with a kind of sporting look, and I think that's exactly where this vehicle falls. Obviously, it's not a utility vehicle in the true sense of the word. It's not a sports vehicle, it's a cross between the two. It's fun, it's fashionable, it's trendy, and the interior matches that. One of the problems, although it's a very clever little idea, actually incorporating the spare wheel into the rear door. Looks great from the outside. It actually makes the rear wheel a feature, of course, of the exterior of the car. But one of the problems with it is that you then have the cover for the rear wheel intruding into the rear screen. And what do you see as this being a rival to? I guess the Vauxhall Frontera must come into it, the Jeep Cherokee to a lesser extent?
Yeah, I mean, all those vehicles sort of fall into its battleground, if you like. But to be honest, we were trying to create a new image. We were trying to get away from this boxy look of off-roaders and actually create a vehicle that sort of moved off-roaders into the sort of next century, if you like. Part of the aerodynamics is an area that tend to be forgotten on off-roaders.
Helps out with the fuel consumption a bit as well.
Absolutely. I mean, it is a very sporty car. It's very capable, as I say, on-road and off-road. It's a V6 engine, so the aerodynamics of it obviously play a part.